Another key part of posture in the rowing stroke and what you're doing with your body is around the hip area and the core area, right? So we've talked about in other videos sitting on the seat correctly. So imagining you're wearing a pair of jeans and the back pockets of those jeans are facing the wall behind you. So that's kind of number one. And what that does is allow you to pivot around the hip in a way that allows you to get that forward body angle right off the release. So here's the release. The arms flow away and the shoulders follow, and you're into this body over position right here. And you can't do that without sitting on the seat correctly. But another thing to think about is sort of what's going on with your core kind of around your belly button, right? And the trick and the cue that I've picked up over the years, although it sounds kind of funny to say it, is imagine that there is a person that lives in your belly button and they have a flashlight and they're holding that flashlight like this. So if you are aligned around your core correctly, that person's flashlight should be shining directly ahead at all times. When you drop the tailbone underneath you, then that alignment gets lost. So it's another good way to remind you to keep your core in a position where the belly button is supported. You're supporting your spine both from in front and behind, so that as you're rowing, you're keeping that core control in mind and not slouching down here, which is tough on the back because you're putting your back in a position in which you're sort of setting yourself up for some injury somewhere down the road. And so what you're doing is kind of creating that spine, that alignment, that lower spine, and that cue allows you to keep control. So what I'm doing when I'm rowing is I'm making sure that my core there is under control, and I'm not allowing myself to slouch. That lower spine, it's all sort of connected into that lower spine control. If your lower spine is kind of being tucked underneath you, you're probably not in the right alignment. So by thinking about that person, that imaginary person that lives in your belly button, and keeping that flashlight shining forward, you now have a very good cue to allow you to keep that core in a strong position, so that as you pivot over, you're not collapsing over, right? Sometimes you see people trying to get that forward body angle, and what they're doing is really rounding the middle of their back to get that, and we really want to get it from the hip, but we want to keep the postural alignment and keep things solid around the core. And so having that visual where you're thinking about how is your belly button aligned allows you to keep that pivot over at the hip, so that you're able to make that swing and get that swing. So here's the swing right now. I'm not collapsing over. I'm keeping that flashlight from that person in the belly button shining directly forward. And now I'm approaching the catch, and I end up in a good position to catch, not with a rounded back or slumped or in a position where I might start shooting my slide or something like that. So hopefully that's a helpful tip for you to think about as you're rowing along, and thanks for watching.